Corey.
Hi, I'm Steve Beach, and I'm here at the University of Georgia at the Center for Family Research, where we have been doing translation-related research for a number of years. I'm talking to you today about an article that I hope you'll download from Family Process. My co-authors and I are publishing a study that evaluates the effects of the ProSAAF program on co-parenting and related outcomes. I would like to thank all of my co-authors, including Alan Barton, Mankit Lee, Jean Brody, Steve Kogan, Tara Hurt, Scott Stanley, and Frank Fincham. In this study, we started with the observation that what happens between co-parents oftentimes makes a big difference on outcomes for youth. In particular, we noticed in the literature that what transpires in the way of arguments that unfold in front of youth can have a dramatic impact on a whole range of outcomes for them. So we began to think about ways of incorporating a focus on co-parenting and the role of fathers into the programs that we had developed for helping families function more effectively. In this particular study, we're focused on African American families, and in the past we noticed that most studies that dealt with parenting focused on single parents and their relationships with their children, but in fact, more than half of African American youth grow up in families with their biological fathers or another father figure, and so we thought it was important to look at how those dynamics would play out in terms of influencing child-related outcomes. We also wanted to look at adolescence, because most of the prior research has focused on younger children, and adolescence is a different time period where there's a lot of change going on. Youth are facing many new challenges, families are facing challenges, and it seemed as if co-parenting might be particularly important in that context. So, in the study that you'll be reading about, we began with 331 families, and they were assigned randomly to either the ProSAAF intervention condition or the no treatment condition, where they received materials that they could read on their own, but they did not participate in an intervention program per se. And we looked at the short-term and long-term effects of that intervention. Short-term, what we were primarily interested in was whether or not the intervention changed families' communication styles. And so we asked couples about their relationship efficacy and the way they talk to each other. Longer term, we were interested in how the program changed the way couples argued in front of their children. And we asked the additional question of whether or not the efficacy of the program for changing youth exposure to interparental arguments was mediated through those short-term changes on the ways couples were talking to each other and their sense of relationship efficacy. So as you'll see in the models that we present in the article, we found that the ProSAAF program was efficacious in changing short-term ways that couples talk to each other and their sense of efficacy in talking to each other. The program was also effective in changing longer-term outcomes with regard to youth exposure to conflict that happened in front of them between their parents. And we found that there was some evidence for mediation of the effect of the program on long-term outcomes by way of those short-term changes in couple communication. There's an interesting twist, and I hope that you'll read the article to hear more about that. That has to do with the gender differences in the effects. And in particular, we found that the effects were more pronounced for wives, and we found a significant and more pronounced effect of the program on wives. And when we did our more extended mediation analyses, it looks like the effects of the program primarily unfolded because of an enhanced effect for wives at the short-term change in terms of communication, an enhanced effect of those short-term changes on wives' perception of conflict and reports of conflict in front of the kids, and that then indirectly affected husbands, their changes being pulled by their wives' changes. So we think that has some interesting implications for the future. We think that might indicate some opportunities for us to enhance these programs further. And we are hopeful that, at a minimum, this establishes the potential importance of focusing on couple relationships as we think about ways to further enhance parenting. Thanks a lot.